Okay, so look, before I get into this review, I want to take this time to shout out the people who grew up wanting to be war journalists or war photojournalists, however that saying goes, and they ended up doing it because not that I've ever truly paid attention to how gruesome and brutal of a job war journalism is, but this movie highlighted just how haunting, gruesome, and brutal war journalism is, and to, like I said, to whoever grew up wanting to do it and ended up following their dreams and take pictures out there in wars and all these crazy scenarios going on in the world, big salute to y'all, because it takes a different kind of bravery to do that and different kind of dedication to tell your story. So salute to those people. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this review because this is the literal definition of a civil war. Let's get into it. Hey guys, it's your guy in the chair here, and this is my review for Civil War starring Kirsten Dunst.
You're my Kristen Dunst. Kirsten?
Wagner Moura, Kaylee Spaney, and Stephen McKinley Henderson. And look, our story is following a group of war photojournalists. I'm just going to address them as they're journalists regardless, but it's a group of journalists who basically are trying to race against time by making it from New York to DC by taking in huge alternate route due to the state of the entire world right now. So they have to go 827 miles, about 827 miles from New York to DC, and they have to basically make it in time to try to interview the president before rebel factions or people who are rebelling against the president and what's going on in the world before they basically break in and kill him, because there has not been a interview with the president in like 14 months. And so basically these journalists are hell-bent and dedicated to try to get some sort of story before the president gets fucked up. And that is the best way to describe this film. There are various ways you could describe this film if you are definitely big into politics, but I am not. So I'm going to focus on straight film aspects of this movie. And look, there are so many ways to begin with what this movie not only is, but what this movie will just leave you with. Like, there are so many ways to start this review. There are so many ways to describe this movie. There are so many ways to just remember how ridiculous of a job war journalism is. And Alex Garland, I'm going to start with him. If this is his last film, which he did announce that this is more than likely going to be his last movie due to the fact that he's lost his passion of filmmaking, which is so very sad. But if this is your last film, sir, I want to sit here and say thank you, because you definitely took risk in your other three previous films, Annihilation, Ex Machina first, Annihilation and Men, and I appreciated those risks, and I loved two of those movies. I liked Men. I'm not going to say I loved it. I'm not going to sit up here and say it was an underrated gem, but I did like Men, and Alex Garland was a risk taker, and here, sir, you're going out with a bang. Regardless of what people enjoyed, what people did not enjoy, this movie has a strong message to tell. This movie has a strong, just aura about it, and it is one that is very haunting and not going to leave you long after you've left the theater, whether or not you liked the movie or didn't. Like, whether or not you did like this movie or not, this movie is going to sit with you, because this is a concept that we are all praying never comes to fruition. This is a lot of people's like worst nightmare of this country being in a state like this, and Alex Garland is truly putting this concept to screen, and he did a brilliant job of telling this story. I truly cannot say enough about what Alex Garland pulled off in this movie, and honestly, it's so much more than just the way he told the story. The directing in this movie is brilliant. There are the way that this story is told, and the fact that it's told from the perspective of photojournalist or war photojournalist or journalist. I'm just going to address them as journalists because it doesn't matter. They're journalists regardless. The fact that this story is told from the perspective of journalists make it so much more haunting, because there's no one that is more dedicated to showing the real sides of war, the real sides of the story. There's no one more dedicated to telling the truth and showing the people or shedding light to the people of, I'm sorry, shedding light on the stuff that is actually happening and telling the actual truth. There's no one more dedicated than journalists themselves. And telling this story from the perspective of that makes this movie all the more haunting, all the more disturbing, all the more just absolutely just eerie. Like, there are so many crazy scenes in this movie. There are so many images that are captured on screen, by the photos themselves and by just Alex Garland himself. There are so many images in this movie that will absolutely just sit with you and probably, like I said, won't leave you for a very long time after you left the theater. It's absolutely brilliant. There are so many tension-filled moments. Like, one thing that I will say about this movie that absolutely blew me away is when you're going through, like, when the journalists are following people who are literally in the middle of a shootout, or they're in the middle of trying to do something and kill somebody, and you have, like, the fact that the soldiers have to keep aware of the journalists and have to be able to be aware of what the hell's going on all at the same time. Shooting, being in crazy situations, being bombed. Like, it's so much. It is so much, and those moments in the film are some of the best tension-filled moments in the movie. This movie actually has a lot of tension-filled moments, and they are absolutely astounding. I mean, Alex Garland literally had me like, there was a gunshot. I'm not going to say which specific one, because there is one in particular that completely just made me jump. I was like, oh shit. Like, I was not expecting that, like, a gunshot of all things to pose as a jump scare and actually work on me. I did not expect that at all, but Alex Garland did a great job of building tension and making these moments matter, making these moments very important, and you are invested in not only the safety of these main characters, but you're just invested in, are they going to get their story or not? And it is a fantastic way to tell this story. Like I said, just telling it from the perspective of these journalists was absolutely brilliant. And I honestly, before I get to the performances and stuff, I do want to say the cinematography is gorgeous. Alex Garland has never failed to make a beautifully looking movie. He's done it once again. There are a lot of great shots in this movie. There are a lot of, like, there's one with, like, specifically them driving through a forest, and, like, there's ember on the floor, or there's ember everywhere. There's fires going on, and there's a song playing in the background that I truly at first thought, I don't know if this is the right song choice, but then we got to the end of that scene, and I was like, no, that was a very beautiful song. Alex Garland, look, like I said, if this is your last movie, sir, you went out with a bang. I don't care what anybody else has to say. I appreciated the hell out. I appreciated the hell. Got to get my words together. Out of what you did, or for what you did. I appreciated the hell out. Last time, I appreciated the hell out of what you did in this film itself. It was absolutely just brilliant. And on to the performances of the movie. Look, I'm going to start with the person who I think absolutely stole the show, and somebody whose name I believe that y'all should remember if you haven't known it already. It's Kaylee Spaney. Kaylee Spaney played Priscilla in the A24 Elvis movie, and I promise you, she was letting y'all know then she's about to be one of them ones. And I promise you right now, she is reminding you once again, her name is one that you need to remember for future references, because she is a amazing actress. She is going to be one of those ones. She is about to be one of those up-and-coming actresses that you need to know. I believe this girl can reach Florence Pugh, Anya Taylor-Joy type, Zendaya type territory at this point. Zendaya is definitely in that tier. Anya Taylor-Joy, Florence Pugh, and Zendaya type territory. Kaylee Spaney's up next. Kaylee Spaney in this movie was absolutely tremendous. Her character development from beginning to end was honestly one of the most shocking, but at the same time, one of the more, it was shocking, but all in the same time, it was a development where it was like, you knew this was coming. Like, what happens, like, where her character ends up, her mindset, the things that she values by the time, like, we get to the end of this film. Like, she is so hell-bent and dedicated on being a journalist and telling these stories and making these photos good and getting the shot and getting the perfect and, you know, getting all the perfect angles and things like that. By the time you get to the end of this film, you may be upset with her character, but if there's one thing that you can be upset with her character, but you can't say that you didn't expect this to be the way it went. Kaylee Spaney's development was absolutely amazing because her and Kirsten Dunst are literally mirrored versions of each other. Kirsten Dunst is the older one, and Kaylee Spaney's the younger version. And they are the same person. So you knew whatever happens by the end of this movie, you can be, like I said, you can be upset with her character, sure, but you can't say that you did not see this coming, and it's not a realistic portrayal of how this story would have went. That's the other thing about this movie. It's true. It's really realistic, especially with the way that these characters are playing themselves out in the film. And like I said, Kaylee Spaney for me was somebody that stole the show. Her character development in the movie was one of my favorite parts, and I absolutely adored her performance. Her performance was absolutely off the wall. And beyond that, Kirsten Dunst. This may be Kirsten Dunst's best performance as far as I'm concerned. I have not seen a lot of Kirsten Dunst movies. I've seen a decent amount, but for me, I think this is her best performance by far. She has to play a completely hollow shell of a journalist because she has seen so much in her work and her life. She's seen so many haunting images, stuff that like literally keeps her up at night, things that she just can't escape, and pictures that she's taken, and it's truly showing you just how brutal of a job this is, and especially if you end up surviving and being able to tell the story, how much those stories will stay with you and they won't leave you. That's the thing about journalism that always scared me. I went to journalism school myself, but the thing that fascinated me was always the storytelling aspects, being able to inspire, motivate people, get the truth out there, being able to, tell stories that you are passionate about and be able to share that with the world. I always loved that aspect of journalism. But then it was that haunting part that movies like Nightcrawler and Spotlight and now Civil War, movies like this highlight the haunting part of journalism, which is the lengths you have to go to get that story. Just how far would a person go to get their shot? How far would a person go to get that quote? It's how far would a person go to get the footage they need to be able to share their story with the world. That was always the haunting part because people would go to extreme lengths, and that's what's shown in this movie here. These people are going to extreme lengths. Traveling 827 miles into the middle of a fucking war zone is ridiculous in itself, but the fact that you're doing that without any guns, you're doing that with just cameras and bulletproof vests that say press, and you're not wearing any helmets most of the time, it's absolutely insane the lengths that these characters go to tell their story. But this is probably, for me, Kirsten Dunst's best performance by far. She was absolutely amazing. And beyond that, Stephen McKinley Henderson was absolutely tremendous as well. But one person in the film I don't want to be overlooked, who I felt like gave a very strong performance in the movie, possibly top 3, was Wagner Moura. Wagner Moura in this movie was one of the most genuine characters by far. What I loved about his characters most was his excitement. Like this story was told from 3 different perspectives of these kind of journalists. Like Kirsten Dunst was somebody who's just seen a lot, and she's absolutely haunted by what she's seen, and she's not really the most energetic person in the world. She's kind of dead inside. She's, like I said, she's kind of a hollow shell of a journalist. She's very dead inside, and she's just completely, I don't want to say necessarily over it, but it's just like she's just seen so much. It's like she doesn't even view the world as the rest of us do anymore. It's just like, even though the world is in a state of complete and utter chaos, the way she views the world, it's always been like this as far as she's concerned. The world has always looked this way, and that just completely stays with her. Wagner Moura is more so like the energetic type of journalist, a guy who gets excited over seeing shit like that, a guy who, when you are literally in the midst of a war going on, or people are shooting, or bombs are going off and shit's just going down, he is excited about this. His heart's racing. This is like adrenaline racing for him. This is something where, like, he feels like fucking Triple X at this point. Like, he lives for this shit. It's absolutely ridiculous. But Wagner Moura gave one of the most amazing performances in this movie. I absolutely adored him. He's also plays Death in Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. Any opportunity I have to, what's the word? Not sponsor, but any advertise, I guess. Any moment I have to be able to tell people to go watch Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, I need to do so. Go watch Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. Stephen McKinley Henderson, like I said, is a very good actor. He has been in a lot, like, this dude has been in a lot of movies for a long time, and I just don't think he's ever gotten like the true respect he deserves. But in this movie here, all of these actors deserve their flowers, because they are absolutely killing it. And of course, I can't go through this review without talking about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jesse Plemons. because I'm pretty sure he is like 70% of the reason why anybody went to go see this movie in the first place, because of that moment in the theater. Okay, what kind of American are you? Like, once he said that, we all were like, okay, I'm sold. I don't need to watch anything else. We're gonna go see it for that. We're gonna go see it for that, man. Jesse Plemons had 6 minutes, and I'm sorry if that's like a big spoiler. It's not necessarily, but he had 6 minutes. And basically, for 6 minutes, Jesse Plemons said, all right, I am going to terrify the shit out of audiences across the nation in 6 minutes. And he absolutely does the most ridiculous job of making you feel the most tension out of the film. Like I said, the movie is a lot of tension-filled moments. That is the biggest one. The scene with Jesse Plemons is the biggest one. And not only that, it is the most brutal. It's probably the most brutal one. Well, that could be debated. But it's probably definitely one of the most haunting ones, the most scarring ones. Jesse Plemons, for 6 minutes, told these motherfuckers, everybody on set, that right now this is my moment and you all need to shut the hell up and let me do my thing. And he took over for 6 minutes. For 6 minutes, Jesse Plemons absolutely took over and just did what Jesse Plemons does. Shows up and shuts shit down. Jesse Plemons, I can't say enough about Jesse Plemons, man. This dude, anytime he shows up in a film itself, he somehow, some way has us thinking that he is truly in like the S tier of actors. And at this point, he probably is. He's in the S tier of acting, probably the most bottom half of that, but he's moving up in the ranks. Like, this dude is truly getting better and better every film I see him in, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But look, overall, guys, Civil War is a movie that, look, if you're a big political nerd or whatever, you'll probably maybe have issues with this movie. I don't necessarily know. Like I said, I'm not on the politics side of this. I am just on the film aspect of this. This is a tremendous film. It's a gorgeous film. It's a beautifully, hauntingly gruesome story to tell. It is one that has tremendous performances, many tension-filled moments. The cinematography is off the wall. The directing, the writing of this movie is genius. Alex Garland, like I said, if this is truly your last movie, sir, you went out with a bang. And I can't thank you enough. And for all those reasons and so many more, guys, I'm going to give Civil War a 3.75 out of 5 stars. All right, so Civil War, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Look, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff and so much more. Look, this is your guy in the chair. More content coming to you soon.